Just ahead on CTV News.
Firefighters are back at the scene of that deadly house fire in Oxon Hill last night. I'm Byron Scott. We'll have that story coming up.
People gather to protest the closing of a decades-long agency. I'm Katara Jones. I'll have more details coming up on CTV News.
Plus, we sit down with one of the county executive candidates. Those stories and more on CTV News, starting now.
Good evening. This is CTV News for February 3rd. I'm Mariah Jalad. Thanks for joining us. Well, recovery operations are back in action today on the Potomac River, where crews are still searching for the remaining 12 bodies of the passengers killed in the plane and helicopter collision last Wednesday. Family members of the crash victims gathered for a memorial on Sunday. 10 buses brought them to the crash scene, then to the airport runway where the plane was meant to land. Cranes were being used this morning to retrieve heavy wreckage from the river, which officials said was necessary to recover the remaining victims. Authorities say they are confident all 67 people will be found. The recovered portions of the two aircraft will be loaded onto trucks and taken to a hangar for further investigation as NTSB looks for answers as to what caused the devastating crash. And investigators with the State Fire Marshal's Office are looking into the cause of that deadly fire in Oxon Hill that claimed 2 lives.
This is where that fire happened last night, 5513 Galloway Drive in Oxon Hill. 4 people were in the house at the time when the fire broke out. 2 did not make it out.
It shouldn't have happened to that. Then they saying it started from the basement and shot upstairs so fast. They couldn't save nobody downstairs.
Gene Johnson lives right across the street from where that deadly house fire occurred last night in Oxon Hill.
That's a messed up situation.
The fire broke out just before 7 o'clock on Galloway Drive. Flames raced through the house.
Firefighters arrived within just a few minutes and arrived to a very well advanced fire in this house. Heavy fire on the lower level as well as fire in the attic space.
Investigators say a smoke alarm on the top floor alerted 2 people who were able to get out safely. It's not known yet if the one in the basement where the bodies were found was operating. The victims are a 72-year-old man and a 30-year-old woman. Firefighters are back at the scene today, going door to door, checking on residents.
So we are going from each house, each residence, to check to make sure they have operational smoke detectors on each level of their house. And if not, then we have smoke detectors that have been donated to the fire department that we will install. They are 10-year smoke detectors that you never have to replace a battery in.
The biggest key to this is we want to make sure that folks have a plan. If you have a fire in your house, get out, stay out, and before the fire occurs, make sure you have a working smoke alarm in every sleeping area.
And while the cause of the fire has not yet been determined, investigators say it does not appear to be suspicious. In Oxon Hill, Byron Scott, CTV News.
And the Prince George's Fire Department gives away free smoke alarms. To get one, call 301-583-2200. And nationwide protests today in opposition to President Donald Trump's immigration policies is drawing participation by people and businesses in Prince George's County. CTV's Bryce Parker is in College Park with more.
So Mariah, right now we're standing right in front of Taqueria Guadalajara, which is a Mexican restaurant located in College Park. Now they're usually open on Mondays, but today they're not. That is because they are observing a day without immigrants, which urges immigrant communities and their allies to not to go to work, not to go to school, and not to shop on February 3rd. Now, these protests are in direct correlation with President Donald Trump's executive orders that target the immigrant community, especially the increased enforcement of immigration agencies across the country. Now, protesters are hoping that their demonstrations today impact those who are in support of Donald Trump's mass deportations and mass detentions, showcasing that a day without immigrants will reveal to everybody that their impact is profound in the communities that they take place in. Mariah?
Yes, thanks, Bryce. And a day without immigrants was also held back in 2017, also in protest of President Donald Trump. And a carjacking suspect dies after trying to cross the busy Beltway to escape police Saturday night. The night began when police located the stolen vehicle in the 6,000 block of Oxon Hill Road. A woman got into the vehicle, drove off, and crashed when police tried to stop her. She then left the car and walked across the Beltway, where she was hit by 2 vehicles. The woman was pronounced dead on the scene. And the drivers of both striking vehicles remained on the scene. This case is now being investigated by the Maryland Office of the Attorney General and state police. And a suspect is in custody after a fight turns into a fatal stabbing. 24-year-old William Tebow is charged with the murder of 43-year-old Tyrone Hager. Prince George's police arrived at the 11,000 block of Croom Road in Upper Marlboro Sunday night and found Hager suffering from multiple stab wounds. He was taken to the hospital where he was later pronounced dead. Investigation shows Tebow stabbed Hager during an argument. At this time, police do not believe they knew each other before this incident. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Mariah Jalad. Still to come, from boomers to zillennials, whether it's a vape or good old-fashioned cigarette, we know some habits are too lit to quit. However, a new report is giving Maryland a breath of fresh air. Back in a moment.
Well, I'm looking good. Thank you. Just became a real ID. What's the plan? Impromptu road trip? Actually, the plan is to fly to New York for today's product launch, and then visit the family in California and cap it off with a girls' weekend in New Orleans. You really can just do all that. Sure, I'm a real ID, so I'm good to board any domestic flight. Speaking of which, gotta fly. Nice. Enjoy. I'll be here.
Be your real ID self by May 7th, 2025. Find out how at tsa.gov/realid.
Welcome back. We have updates in the case of the accused members of Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity of Salisbury University who were charged in connection to the attack of an LGBTQ student. So far, 10 of the 15 accused fraternity members have pled guilty. 9 of the 10 have already been sentenced by the Wicomico County District Court, with the 10th awaiting their sentencing in April. All 15 defendants have since been expelled from the fraternity. And Attorney General Anthony Brown launches a new office in an effort to protect the rights of Marylanders. Brown created the Office of the Attorney General's Strategic Plan. The plan has 5 priorities, which include strengthening public safety and law enforcement. The plan will also work at protecting consumers, workers, and promoting fair business practices. Brown's new office will uphold civil rights and promote equal justice. And the race for Democratic National Committee chair is over, and it's a new era for the party. Former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley came up short, while Minnesota Democratic Chair Ken Martin clinched a decisive victory. At the DNC's winter meeting on Saturday, Martin secured 246.5 votes, easily defeating O'Malley, who finished a distant third with just 44 votes. Wisconsin Democratic Chair Ben Wickler came in second. In his acceptance speech, Ken Martin called for unity and urged Democrats to build to win by expanding infrastructure and reconnecting with working-class voters.
We need to go on offense. Trump's first weeks have shown us that what happens when amateur hour meets demolition derby, right? And at the same time, he's invited all these billionaires into the Oval Office to mine, extract, and profit off of our government. This is our time. Right now, it's the people's government. It's not another resource for ultra elites to exploit. Lastly, and the third, is we're going to take tonight to enjoy the moment, and we're going to build new alliances, but then we're going to get to work. We're going to get to work. We're going to fight. We're going to go out there and take this fight to Donald Trump and the Republicans, and we're going to fight for working people again in this party.
Martin now leads a party looking to regain ground heading into the 2026 midterm elections. He says that work starts now. And a new healthy addition to BWI Airport is showing promising results for travelers. The Hi-Gi Smart Health Station was installed last July to allow people to monitor their blood pressure, pulse, weight, and body mass index. Since the installation, 4,000 sessions have been recorded since December 31st, averaging 22 uses per day. This kiosk is a part of the airport's efforts to bring broader health and fitness aimed at travelers. And staying independent as you age, it's a top priority for many seniors, and February is National Senior Independence Month. With over 118 independent living communities in the D.C. area, finding the right fit can be overwhelming. But U.S. News World Report has ranked the best options to help seniors and their families make informed decisions. A recent survey shows 98% of seniors who moved into independent living communities trust their caregivers, and 93% have made new friends.
Seniors really want to find a place that feels like home, that they feel safe in, that, takes care of some of their needs, maybe some things that they don't want to do anymore, like household maintenance. Honestly, I would love to not have to do household maintenance. And also stuff like the food is good and has good variety. Staff is, kind and thoughtful. And we also find that people are really satisfied when there's a continuum of care.
And experts say early planning is key to maintaining independence. For more on top-rated communities, visit usnews.com. And a national report rates Maryland as the most improved state for its anti-tobacco efforts. This due in part to new laws that raise the state tax on cigarettes and the inclusion of e-cigarettes in the state's Clean Indoor Air Act last year. The annual State of Tobacco Control's 2025 report grades states on policies designed to prevent and reduce tobacco use, including e-cigarettes. All 50 states and the District of Columbia are graded to determine if their laws and policies are adequately protecting citizens from the devastating toll tobacco use takes on lives, health, and the economy. And in an unprecedented move that caused chaos within the federal government, President Donald Trump shut down an agency that's been operating since the early 1960s. CTV's Katara Jones is outside that headquarters in Washington, D.C. with more.
That's right. I'm outside of the headquarters for the U.S. Agency for International Development, also known as USAID, and hundreds of people have gathered in protest of the Trump administration shutting down the humanitarian aid agency. Now, staffers at USAID were instructed to not come into their D.C. headquarters. Reports also show that hundreds of USAID workers were also locked out of the agency computer system. Now, the agency was shut down after billionaire Elon Musk, who is leading the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, asked the president to close the agency down. Now, many U.S. lawmakers who came out to this protest called the shutting down of USAID illegal.
But trying to shut down the Agency for International Development by executive order is plain illegal. It is illegal. Elon Musk may get to be dictator of Tesla, but he doesn't, and he may try to play dictator here in Washington, D.C., but he doesn't get to shut down the Agency for International Development.
This illegal, unconstitutional interference with congressional power is threatening lives all over the world. I'm hearing from my constituents who work for USAID and USAID contractors in Maryland, in Washington, all over the world, and they're telling us that this is a killer in terms of their cutoff of the HIV and AIDS preemption. It's a killer in terms of anti-malarial education.
Now, the lawmakers who were at this protest today say it's only Congress who has the authority to close this agency down. Katara Jones, CTV News.
Thank you, Katera. And Congress passed the Foreign Assistance Act back in 1961, and then President John F. Kennedy founded the agency the same year. And still to come on CTV News, the race is on for the 2025 county executive seat. After the break, we speak with candidate Rashern Baker on his plan if given a second chance at the job. Don't move.
The doctor said I only had a 29% chance to find you. But I knew you were out there. Every night, even when my heart was sad, I wished for you to sign up. I got so sick that I couldn't go to school, but I still made people laugh. But when we matched, it was the best day ever. Dear donor, your blood stem cells saved me from leukemia. Thank you forever and ever and ever. Sincerely, Owen.
Experience the true joy of saving a life at nmdp.org.
Primary election for the county executive seat is 1 month away. In the next coming weeks, CTV will be bringing exclusive interviews with each of those candidates. And joining us in the studio today is candidate and former county executive Rashern Baker. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Mr. Baker.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be back. It's always good to be at CTV.
All right. So just to get started, going into this year, the county is facing a $10 million deficit. Where do you see potential cuts in the budget or avoiding cuts in the budget?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons I decided to run. If you look at what's going on, not only at the state level, which has a $3 billion budget deficit, you have a federal government that's somewhat hostile to the Prince George's County area, and now you have a $70 million budget deficit for the county itself. So coming in, that budget is going to be presented on March 15th to the council. So coming in, you want somebody who understands how to look at the budget, understand it, and make cuts where you need to make cuts, and invest where you need to invest. And so for me, what my budgets look like when I was county executive, and I'll do the same thing, is priority on public safety and education, and then we figure out what we're going to do at the rest of the area.
Mm-hmm. And if we're still dealing with that deficit, and we don't know what's coming from the federal administration yet, that could worsen the situation. So how do you see, balancing that budget without, getting rid of critical services?
Well, first of all, you have to make a priority. And that's what I would do, is make sure public safety is a priority in the budget, that they're funded. And that's not just our police officers, that's our firefighters, corrections, state's attorney's office. Because if people and businesses don't feel safe in the county, they won't invest and they won't come here. And I know that firsthand. The second thing is our education system. Our property tax values of our homes are based on our education system. Having a good quality K through 12 public education is very important. So I've always maintained those budgets as close to whole as possible, and then we found other ways to make changes. But the most important thing that was done during the 8 years, and this worked for us the last time we faced a budget of that size, is that we actually increased our commercial tax base. And so if you look at things like MGM, Whole Foods, New Carrollton Development, all of that was designed to put revenue back into Prince George's County, and it did. And we can do the same thing now, but you need to know what you're doing when you get in there. So experience in this case is not just valuable, it's essential.
Mm-hmm. And can you promise the residents of Prince George's that their taxes won't go up if you become the county executive?
Yeah, I think what we need to do this time is to actually cut our property tax base. And that way because residents are moving. We don't want people moving. We want businesses and residents to stay here. So I would look to cut the property taxes. But in order to do that, you have to increase the business taxes. That means you have to bring development here, you have to bring corporations here. And that's the thing that one of the things I was known for when I was county executive 6 years ago. We actually had our commercial tax base going up. And we were leading Maryland in terms of job creation. And that's what we have to do now, because that's also what's going to save us with the threats to the federal government, both employees themselves and businesses that rely on the federal government. I've dealt with the Trump administration in the past, so I know how to deal with them. But in order for us to make sure that we have opportunities for everybody, you have to grow the businesses in the county and that business tax base.
So you're saying that you would increase taxes to businesses and cut property taxes?
No, we wouldn't have to actually increase taxes to businesses. What we would do is, so when we faced this problem when I was county executive, I created the $50 million Economic Development Fund. It sort of works like Biden's Build Back, America. So that fund we used to invest in businesses that were willing to come to Prince George's County, hire employees, and therefore creating an economy here that actually brings up our commercial tax base. So without raising taxes at all, you think of something like, good example is MGM.
Right.
MGM was built for $1.4 billion, but what it generated back to Prince George's County in taxes was $47 million. So that's money we can use for our public safety, for our education, and for our health care.
And so, like you said, when it comes to building up the economy, we need safe streets and we need good schools. And one thing that we keep hearing in Annapolis is these plans to cut the Blueprint Fund to kind of help with this budget deficit. So what would you do to protect the money that's promised to Prince George's in the Blueprint?
So first of all, we have to fight for the Blueprint to be funded. We know, just like I had to make priorities as county executive, and will do again when I'm county executive, the governor has to do the same thing. And so we want to protect that money because that helps us. We also want to make sure that we're protecting our school system, that we're investing in the way that we need to. We're investing to say this county is going to grow and it's going to be prosperous, but we have to invest into our education system. And we definitely have to invest into our public safety. One of the things that I've noticed is over the last 6 years, Prince George's County has gone up in the number of homicides we've seen in the county, the number of carjackings, and the number of robberies. 6 years ago, we were one of the safest places in America. And so in order to get back to that, it means we have to invest in public safety. Same thing with our firefighters and others. I've noticed looking at the budget over the last few years, we're down about 300 police officers, and we're down about 200 fire and EMS officers. So we've got to build that back up so people feel safe and businesses feel safe coming here and investing here.
So your solution to the safety issue is to further fund safety like police and firefighters. But where do you get those funds when we're already dealing with a budget deficit?
So you make that funding first. Just like, when you get your paycheck, the most important thing if you own a house is to pay your mortgage. You pay the mortgage first, and then you decide how you're going to deal with the rest of the government. This is why it's so important to have experience as county executive. This is a $4 billion corporation that on March 4th, someone's going to step into. If you're me, you already know how to deal with the budget deficit and how to make those priorities. And so investing in public safety and investing in education, and then deciding where we have to make some choices. And then, as the question you asked earlier about the blueprint, we have to make sure that's funded at the state level. Because if we don't get our share from the state level, then it's going to require Prince Georgians to raise their taxes in order to pay a mandated a fee for our education system.
And I just want to end with, the fact that you are running on the fact that you've been county executive before. So what would you do differently this time? How would you better leverage that position to improve the economic state, to give us safer streets, better schools?
And that's just it. I mean, this is a special election where you're only given 2 years on this term. So the person stepping in there has to be county executive on March 4th. And because I have been county executive, I can leverage those contacts that I have at the federal level, which allowed us, even during the Trump administration, it allowed Prince George's County to bottleneck money at the federal level so we could get the FBI to come here. We also were able to build the Purple Line during the Trump administration by using my position as a member of County Executives of America and teaming up with my colleagues from around the country. So that's the type of experience going into each one of these battles that I bring that no one else running has.
All right. Thank you so much for being here today, Mr. Baker.
Thank you.
Make sure to tune in tomorrow. We'll be introducing another candidate, Marcellus Cruz, only on CTV News. And still to come, Simon Buggs has our Monday Sports page.
Hey, sports fans, don't go anywhere because coming right up, Commanders owner Josh Harris addresses the upcoming free agency period as well as the draft. What did he have to say? Well, you'll find out right here on CTV Sports. Be right back.
Prince George's Community Television, the home for everything Prince George's, is gearing up to start our media training and classes. Come to PGCTV and get hands-on training in field production, studio production, producing and directing, podcasting, and video editing, and take your skills to the next level. Register today. Classes begin March 5th.
What's going on, guys? Hope you enjoyed your weekend. I have a packed sports page for you today. Let's get right to it. The 2025 Season 4, the Maryland softball team begins this week, and head coach Lauren Carn will try to make some noise in her second year of coaching this squad. With just 1 year under her belt of coaching in College Park, the former Oakland University coach has already made a huge impact on her players. I talked to first baseman Sidney Lewis and outfielder Maisie McFarland, and they told me the effect that Carn has had on them.
I could speak all day on how much she's completely changed the positivity of this program and how much she's done for me from a mental standpoint. Like, just made me realize how impactful I am as a person to this team, that while I may not be getting to throw every single pitch or catch every ball at first base, I do have a role that is so important to this team. And whether it's just coming out and cheering on my teammates, that's what my role is that day. And I'm so excited to see how she does that for every player on this team.
I really like being coached by Coach Carn. She's like your biggest fan. She'll support you no matter what, and she's the first one to give you a high five and tell you like what you're doing. And she's also really good at holding us accountable. And so I'm really excited to see her cheering us on in the dugout and telling us what we need to succeed.
The Lady Terps will open up the season on the road against Arizona State on Thursday. Meantime, the Baltimore Orioles have added another piece to their roster as the Orange and Black have acquired infielder Luis Vasquez from the Chicago Cubs for cash considerations. In 11 games with the Cubs, the Puerto Rico native scored 2 runs, an RBI, and a hit by pitch. Vasquez and the rest of the team begin spring training on February 22nd. And in NFL news, my Washington Commanders shocked everyone this season as the team was way ahead of schedule in their rebuild, making it all the way to the NFC Championship game. Now, this offseason will be very exciting for the team as fans are eager to see who the front office brings in, whether it be through the draft or free agency, to help this team be even better in 2025. And Commanders owner Josh Harris touched on the type of players he's looking for as the offseason approaches.
Look, we're looking for Commanders, and whether it be free agency, trades, draft, and obviously we have a lot of cap flexibility. We have a full slate of draft picks. Certainly we're going to be talking to other teams where we can find players that, are great at what they do and fit our culture and are great teammates and are situationally aware and hit hard and are tough. Like we're gonna get them to come. And so, we're totally focused on improving our team from last year, and I think we're going to do that.
Free agency begins March 12th, while the draft will be held from April 24th to the 26th. And wrapping up sports, be sure to go out and support your local high schools tonight, as there will be tons of basketball action. Sarasville will travel to Landover to take on Fairmont Heights. Wilds will try and secure their second straight win against Eleanor Roosevelt. And finally, Bladensburg will look to defend home court against Northwestern. And that is your Monday sports page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports.
Thanks, Simon. Now let's get a look at our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight will be mostly cloudy. Tomorrow it's going to be mostly sunny and we reach a high of 55. Well, Punxsutawney Phil predicted 6 more weeks of winter, and Wednesday will definitely give us that winter wonderland vibe. We'll have a high of 37 degrees and a 90% chance of snow. Thursday we warm up to a high of 58 with an 80% chance of rain. And that wraps up CTV News for now. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.
Who are you?
Your lungs. Even though you quit smoking years ago, you may be at risk for lung cancer.
But with a routine screening, you can detect it early.
Learn more at SaveByTheScan.org.